we have a lot of the popularity of focus group testing. We're going to grab a bunch of people, we're going to show them a bunch of things and see what they're going to object or what they're going to like about a product to drive advertising and stuff. I'm wondering whether it might not be as imaginary. It might, but because it doesn't take much more than one person in the focus group in the 80s to drive the design of the product or the alteration of the product.
So if we went back in time and found that one person and just kind of tripped them on their way to the focus group, like all these games would have swastikas in them.
But couldn't it, on the other hand, have been preemptive? I mean, there was, even in the 80s, there was this idea of games as kind of dangerous for people, right? The idea that like the arcade is where the thugs go.
Yeah.
In the mid-90s.
It's kind of like swastikas are like more dangerous in games because they're games.
Well, it could have very well just been, you know, let's tone it down to keep our business going just in case.
Yeah.
Right, like so as not to.
But the just in case thing, I think, the preemptive aspect of it. You're saying.
I think the reason why they did it is because it's kind of like a reminder for these countries, like for example Germany, you know, it's more of a shame to them because so it's like a reminder. So when they see it, they don't want to be like reminded that you know they had like a dark past. So.
Maybe if I can say something.
I mean,
like, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Yeah. So that's mainly what I think it is. It's just like it's kind of like they want to like forget that you know.
You think they're not worried that they're going to create new Nazis? They're just more just. Like
it's more of like a shame of like or embarrassment. I should say.
And Germany is an ally at that point. You know, there's a certain amount of. We're not going to do stuff that's vilifying the Japanese anymore because they're such a crucial part of our economy. They're not as well as Germany.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether there's a little bit of.
No, I wonder too.
What he just said, just sort of getting rid of stuff that we're embarrassed about. It's almost similar to what Disney's been doing, is sort of censoring its older questionable.
It's old racist cartoons.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but.
You know, I just know from the German side that after the Second World War, the main focus was, of course, on movies and books, and they had very strict committees looking, like every movie shown in Germany was really looked by a committee that looked for stuff like that. They didn't even like say what the problem is or if people felt bad seeing it or whatever. They really just had to make sure that for other countries that they really look that nothing like that happens.
And they had checklists?
They had checklists, of course, but it would be a really it was a board that had a lot of power in the sense of media. Like and when computer games came up as a media form, they were like when for instance Wolfenstein came up. They were really afraid of a new media form with people that don't even ask them for their opinion and spread it out there. So especially in Germany, the reaction was they looked at it as a movie. Like they didn't care, you know, like they just knew there is somebody spreading media and we have to be in charge and like rate that before it gets out to everybody. So there was never really a discussion why a swastika would be dangerous in Wolfenstein 3D. Nobody ever.
So you're saying it was just this kind of assumption.
It was, is there somebody in power of the media controlling that people don't use these symbols again? Like they didn't, in the beginning it was like, are the people who did that game Nazis? You know, like they didn't even understand.
So are you saying that like, so you're saying that the thinking was so, the idea of is this harmful is like not even a question?
It was not a discussion, it was more, we have a system that controls what is going out. And there is a new media form called computer games that we don't control, and they really had to get into that. You know, they had to, and so that means that parents have the sense there is somebody watching this, and I think especially with that case, it was quite tough. You know, they really took games off the market very quickly. And
how did it happen? Was it like, would they just like? When they say they take games off the market, would they just like march in and take them, or would they?
No, it was just not allowed to sell them. If you sold them, you got arrested for that.
Oh,
it's
wow.
very easy.
So how long ago was this?
For 25 years, 20 years. But
I mean, it must still be going on because I already hear on the internet that they actually banned Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops over there because there's a scene where you're in World War II and you're fighting Germans, or you're fighting Nazi zombies. So they banned the game. So they just banned the game.
They don't want people killing Nazi zombies.
Which is weird because
Yeah.
isn't there a German movie? Yes.
Norwegian.
Norwegian.
Oh, it's not German.
It's not German.
Yeah, it's not German.
Dead Snow.
Dead Snow, yeah, it's not, yeah.
I think one thing that the Americans in the room may not necessarily remember is that outside of America, the norm is that media is going to be controlled by some sort of form.
Yeah.
I feel, as a Singaporean, it sounds like from the German fans, the expectation is that when a new medium comes on scene, it is the government's job to limit and control it. And it's kind of the reason why the US is so special. You've got that assumption that that is not the government's job to actually control.
Yeah, censorship, you're saying censorship is par for the course.
It's par for the course, and it's almost an expectation on you. Why are we electing people into power if they're not going to protect us from that?
Yeah. No, that's
I guess it's, what it is that the reason why it bothers censorship is because they believe that it's the influence of like the symbols that are being that are in these video games. Is like doesn't mean because like images are a powerful thing, and it can influence people. So, I mean, is it to say that like when I see a swastika, I'm gonna turn into a Nazi? I don't know. But, I mean, it all starts from an idea, like all these the evil people in the world. They didn't just they weren't born evil. There was something that had to influence them.
they played Wolfenstein.
Exactly.
Well, no. So this is actually interesting. One of the things that hasn't come up here actually yet is the idea of multiplayer. And one of the things that happens when you get the argument you hear from gamers a lot of the time is that they're not saying Nazis are good. They're saying Nazis are bad. The game is about you killing Nazis. But it's interesting that this idea of the touchiness of censorship and also is there going to be a different version for Germany versus outside Germany also kind of coincides with the rise of multiplayer as sort of something that's expected alongside a single-player game when the single-player narratives tend to have that kind of binary black and white view. So if you have a game that has a kind of a binary black and white view and the multiplayer mode in which it's assumed that outside of the narrative sort of has no narrative to it, but just for the sake of fun gameplay, they're going to let you play the other side, then that becomes a different story. And usually the multiplayer modes is what people point to a lot of the time when they're talking about see, you can be Nazis in the game, taking it out of as if the game was about being a Nazi running around and doing horrible things to people as a Nazi. But this is interesting. This is Castle Wolfenstein that came out a few years ago.
I remember that.
And you remember this? This was kind of like the big modern return to this property to bring it back.
A lot of people were talking about this.
You remember a lot of people talking about it? What do you remember?
I just remember that it was like a lot of people took offense because of the swastika.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
I remember that.
You mean here, like in the U.S.?
No, I just read it in an
You
article. It was a
remember
long
reading
time
about it
ago.
online?
Yeah.
So you remember that? So you're saying that even when this game came out a few years ago, that there was a controversy about the swastikas in this game.
Yes, there were. I remember.
And it's interesting too because this game was not censored outside of Germany, but of course, this is the kind of non-German version, and then this is the German version, and here is another, nice little British Hitler.
It looks Japanese.
Yeah, he's vaguely-
Maybe he's not, but yeah. But it is interesting too and it's interesting too that when this game came out, there was a lot of press. It was really easy to get these pictures because somebody had done a screenshot comparison of both versions, as being a really big deal. And this is good. I don't know, just gotta remember what our next examples are here. That the whole idea of this is when we get into the interesting idea of so there's the German version and then everybody's kind of designing for the German version. And does anybody have an experience of playing a game that you felt like was censored or seemed like it was censored, it didn't, maybe it had Nazis in it, but there were obviously Nazis, but it avoided all the iconography?
Yeah.
Was it?
So it was World at War, for Call of Duty World at War. I'm a big FPS guy. They don't have the symbols on or when you play the Nazi soldiers. All it is just an eagle and
When you play them.
Yeah, when you play them.
Are the symbols in the game when you encounter those characters in the story mode?
I don't remember because I never really paid attention to. Oh, there's a swastika, so
Yeah.
maybe I don't know.
You're not sure.
I just know that. Yeah.
Does anybody have any memory of when they played like that, like in the past 10 years?
Not political censorship.
Mm.
I mean, there's a lot. It's easy to tell in a lot of games when they're talking about like alcohol or something like that.
Yeah, like, oh, it's, you found root beer.
It's like we're at the bar drinking tea and the guy's like
Yeah.
acting really weird or something like
Yeah.
that, like sexual, like innuendo and that sort of stuff. But I feel like I don't know too many American games that explicitly were censored. I feel like plenty of games were censored before they even came out, but I can't think of too many that actually.
The drugs thing is an interesting issue because the one with the recent game that reminds me of is Fallout 3, which is, if I recall, had a lot of the drugs in it renamed from being actual drug names to
Oh, like fantasy drug
fancy
names.
drug names.
Yeah.
I remember there was controversy about that at this time.
Yeah.
Was that for Australia? Was that for the US?
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think that I don't know enough about real drugs to know, but I think they are fantasy drugs. Even
I think
in the,
I think I remember in Fallout 3 they did use fantasy.
even in the U.S. version. Yeah.
Fallout 3 Jet.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting when so the idea. So one of the things I wanted to point out is that there is this kind of concern because so many games are made internationally, right? You have games being made in all over Europe that are coming out on PC and on Xbox. That often where the game is made and how the game is distributed often and sometimes actually forces the kind of German version on the rest of the world. This is a game, oh no wait, where is it? Well, we don't actually have a different view of it here, but this is a game called Death to Spies, which is actually a Russian-made game where you're a Soviet counterintelligence spy during World War II. This game came out all over anywhere you can buy PC games, but the swastikas and all the pictures of Hitler and everything were all taken out for everywhere except Russia, which a lot of people couldn't figure out, and it was really interesting because you have this forum, which the guy who has this kind of probably strange picture here. Basically giving all these, like, there's this FAQ on exactly what you can do to, somebody had like gone into the texture packs for the original Russian version, put them online, and then wrote this FAQ for how you can insert them back in, and also like insert, even like they went as far as to like inserting the original Russian voice acting back in, so it was like, perfect or something. So that's actually something that there are now these kind of like de-censorship FAQs you can find online, these kind of like de-censorship packs where this kind of stuff happens. And this is kind of getting more and more ambiguous. Let me see what else I have here. This game, Velvet Assassin, where you play another assassin during World War II killing Nazis, also doesn't have any imagery like that in it. But one of the reasons this game doesn't is because it was, and there is no alternate version of this game. This game has no swastikas for anybody. But that's because it was actually made in Germany. And because it was made in Germany, they actually didn't, I don't even, it's kind of interesting too. I don't know what the laws are. I don't know, like, if you, draw a swastika on a piece of paper, the police come into your house and they're like, okay, But in this case, it would be interesting to find out, like, whether, they had planned something like that and weren't able to implement it, or whether it's actually against the law to even create assets like that if you're making the game in Germany. So because it's made in Germany, there's no way you could even have that in it. Like, even if you weren't selling that version in Germany, if it would be illegal to even make it within those borders. But, and here's another interesting example too, and this gets us more into the kind of multiplayer thing, or in this case it isn't multiplayer. But how many people played this game? Saboteur, does anybody remember this?
Didn't it come out last year?
Yes. It's a game where you are, it's basically a GTA clone in which you play a member of the French resistance during the Nazi occupation, except, of course, you're Irish, you're not French. But what's interesting about this game is that the idea of even non-German games released outside Germany that that have Nazi imagery in them, often sort of magically erase that imagery when it becomes a case of you somehow playing the other side, or you having access to role-playing that. So this is a mission where this character actually sneaks up behind his Nazis. You can see he has this armband with a swastika, and then he knocks him out. I don't exactly know how he did that, but he did.
He looked at him.
He looked at him. And then when you put on his outfit, he kind of, the armband is gone.
Hmm.
It's perfect. They'll never be able to tell it's me.
So how many people know about the controversy surrounding this game? Does anybody want to explain it?
Remind me.
It was.
Yeah, you told us. But
Did I? Well, I think I told you before we got in.
Yeah.
What happened was that it's based off the real fighting of like one of the forces in Afghanistan, and originally it was meant to be the Taliban, but EA got so much flack from army people that they changed it to opposing force.
So yeah, I mean, basically what happened is this game came out, and these games are popular on U.S. military bases and among servicemen. So this game in particular takes place in Afghanistan, and because it takes place in Afghanistan, in the multiplayer mode, the opposing side is the Taliban. And the only thing that says that is just a little thing that says Taliban on the top of the screen. And let me see if I can get the quote here. There's a quote from whatever spokesman was speaking for the military, and I'm trying to look for it here while the game starts up. Anyway, they were absolutely livid, and they said that, like, it's, God, I can't find the quote, but that it's, I remember one of the words they used is that it's disgusting to have, it's like, it dishonors the soldiers, it dishonors the people who died.
I was about to say send it like redeem code or just cancel it.
Yeah, just cancel it. What do you do to just quick match? Or no.
Go quick match?
If you did a quick match, would it have let you choose sides? Because you want to choose the side.
Oh, you play with friends.
Play with enemies. You should say play with enemies, right? That's who they are. But, oh, did you have something to say? Or?
Yeah. No, I forgot.
Wait.
Oh, if you remember. If you remember.
Was it saying combat mission?
Oh, one of those.
Yeah, here we go.
Heavily defended by Op-4
Op-4 forces.
What does it say? Op-4 forces. Opposing forces.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the same thing that's in Modern Warfare 2 in 4.
But again,
it's infested with Op-4 fighters.
And it's funny because it was in the case of this game, it was literally a search and replace in all the text. Like, they didn't change the graphics, they changed absolutely nothing.
It's in Helmand.
Is it banned in Helmand?
Yeah, but it's not the Taliban.
Here you are.
Yep, opposing forces.
So you're actually in Afghanistan and these are, you're right, but they're just called Op-4s. But it's otherwise based on an actual video game adaptation of actual soldiers.
Yes, but they didn't take it all the way. They didn't call Afghanistan Op-World.
Yeah, I know, right?
Or Opland.
They should have, that would be interesting.
You are also, it's still very clear that you're fighting against America. They actually said that the American forces are invading.
Oh, so you're the opposing side.
Where's this little Taliban?
Well, I think it used to say Taliban, and now it just says Op-4 instead of Taliban.
That might
Do that Op-4.
part of that might
Got
be
outboard.
because like games are not viewed with the same kind of utmost respect that things like film, which is like a high art, is, and that people may get twitchy thinking this is something designed purely for fun, and you're using such a serious, respectable, or lack thereof, event.
Yeah. So nobody said that about the Hurt Locker, obviously. Like, the U.S. military wasn't like, how dare you portray that, right? So in the case of this game, it is interesting that, so what happened with this game is they pulled all the military basically banned the game on all military bases. You can't sell it. And in response, EA released a statement basically saying that they were deeply sorry, they never intended all this, and that I forget, like, the exact quote is Call of Duty. Yeah, Medal of Honor has always resided. The heartbeat of Medal of Honor has always resided in the reverence for the American and Allied soldiers, we have decided to rename the opposing team the Medal of Honor multiplayer. And that was their press statement.
But in single player, they're still called the Taliban?
I don't know. I think that it seems to be. I haven't actually played it myself, but
every single press release about this game that EA issues and that I've seen reminds people that this was developed together with military personnel, military veterans.
And it was. It was. There were military personnel in the cooperation in the making of, cooperating in making the game.
I think that's kind of what's problematic about this game and the way EA made it, is that they, I mean, I don't know, they worked so closely with the military on this that it seems like they were like, well, we don't want to piss off the military when we make this game. It seems it's I don't know. It seems like it's certainly anti-art. It's very much anti wanting to say anything bad about the military. You know, they talk about how sorry they are, that they might have in any way offended the people who helped them make the game, I guess. Part of me wonders why so many military shooters are being made. Why EA needs to kind of, avoid at all costs offending the U.S. military seems a little bit, I don't know, problematic to me.
I mean, part of it might just come down to the sales, right? Because sales at bases might actually be a significant source of revenue.
my controls.
It might not be as altruistic as
That's true, but like,
How you doing?
I feel like maybe they would have been more careful then, because they did get it banned from bases.
Well, this is interesting because when you say it was made in cooperation with the military, assumedly the people who were the consultants, knew that the multiplayer mode had Taliban. And maybe they didn't, but maybe it did. The people who got upset about it were not necessarily the exact people who were in collaboration on it. They were people, afterwards who were just like the military PR folks who were just like, we have decided to take a stance on this game. So it's interesting. I wonder if there was what went on behind the scenes. So there are two hands up.
Go ahead. It's quick. I mean, as far as the sales go, maybe it's not just the sales at the bases, but if a game is seen as un-American or against American forces, then I feel like a significant portion of the American population would just be like, oh, I'm not going to contribute to that.
This is also a Christmas release game, right? So a lot of people are going to be, a lot of the revenue is going to come from people who are going to buy this game not having played the game, or not having seen the game play. They're going to base it entirely on what kind of press they're reading in USA Today. So, if a negative article comes out about this thing, then people are going to buy Call of Duty instead of...
Or, one of their competitors. No, but that is... What did you say? That made me...
I was basically saying that if I feel like support for the American military is everyone agrees, at every State of the Union, there's our strong, men and women out in the force. And so anything that offends the military is generally seen as an unpopular thing.
It is. So that's a really interesting point to me, and I haven't talked to anybody who's actually in the military to. So the impression I get is that, there's a lot of people who grew up playing games and grew up playing FPSs who are in the military, like them and play them, and it's normal, right? And I really wonder. It seemed to be I wonder if there's a generation gap between the part of the military that was sort of, for in a very kind of knee-jerk kind of propaganda way, just kind of no game can portray this. Whereas I would be surprised if the soldiers who actually want to play the game would have been offended by the fact they're like, well, it's Afghanistan, so the other side's the Taliban. We understand this. I mean, I may be wrong. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't talked to anybody, but I would be surprised though. If the gamers in the military were just as bothered by it.
Oh, I agree. No, I wasn't saying they would be. I was just saying that
But
their knee-jerk reaction to appease the military.
But it's interesting because this is what it makes me think. When you say appease, when you say a significant portion of the population, it makes me wonder: is it really the population that is offended by it, or is it the way the military wants the population to think, or the way the government wants the population to think?
I think that's really important. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So we'll go with you and then.
I think that that's a really important point that it might be just certainly I don't think that the majority of Americans are even in favor, or still in favor of the war at this point. Like, I haven't read like the statistics or whatever, but certainly it's a really unpopular war. And movies like The Hurt Locker, you know, like it wasn't like a huge grossing picture, but like, I mean, Apocalypse Now, The Deer Hunter, like there's this great article called Free Speech is Not a Marketing Plan by Ian Bogost, which is talking about how all of these films come out that are very critical of the war and still really popular. So why is it that this game can't be critical of the war? Like, it just seems that the sales and popularity element seems less and less convincing when you see all these films.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it seems like I wonder if the idea of being able to play the Taliban in the multiplayer mode is as anti-American as the military.
I keep doing this to start.
Can you guys quiet down? Sorry. I wonder if it is actually as anti-American to the American population, to the people who are actually consuming this media, as the people in the military imagine. You know, because it really makes me wonder that they're just kind of like, no, you know, but I mean, I don't know. Oh, you were next.
Yeah. Well, I'm a 4-year Marine vet. Whenever we tend to look at these games like it's fun, no matter if it's like we're a Taliban or we're a Nazi and we're killing American soldiers. I mean, we look at it as fun. We honestly don't care. I think what it is because the military. I think it's the idea of like having people play, let's say the bad guy. It's what kind of offends people because, you know, like you said earlier, this is an unpopular war. We look at the Taliban as a bad guy, and it's the same thing with the Nazi. If you play a Nazi and you're going around killing people, people will get offended. If you play a Taliban, you go around killing people.
When you say people get offended, though, it's definitely not offending you, the players
no, they're
who
not.
are actually in the military, right?
Right.
I mean, it's definitely not. So who is it offending when you say people? Is it the higher-ups in the military, or are they just
honestly,
looking at it, or?
Honestly, I think it's like more the old people, the old school people who are like, they like the people who don't understand, like, you know, the mind of a gamer.
Yeah.
You know? Because a gamer, we don't really care if, like, you know.
Yeah. So my guess would be somebody who's actually, you know, been in the military, probably seen combat, would probably better than anybody else understand that this is a game.
Right. Right. Exactly.